chat with Nicholas. He'll listen to you. Then he'll laugh, and then he'll cry with you. It's all in a safe space for you to speak your truth. Oh, come and chat with Nick.
Hi, everyone. Today we've got Robert Indries with us today. Robert has got a very strong background in sales, marketing, business development, coaching, and we're very excited to have him on board today. And we're going to be talking a lot about tech sales. We're going to be talking about the impact of AI on businesses. And to start off, though, why don't we get Robert to tell us where in the world are you and a little bit about your backstory.
So up until not long ago, we were in the UK. We've lived there for around 7 years. I've been traveling for the last 15 years. So the last 7, we've been in the UK, most of it. And we've moved a year ago for various reasons. The main one being taxes. In our income bracket, taxes were 45%, which I believe is unacceptable, right? You give yourself $1 million, you only keep half. I don't know how that's fair. I don't know in what world, but we said that's not something we want to deal with for the rest of our life. Oh, and another thing. And when we learned this, we said, never, not a chance. You are taxed 45% on your income. When you die and your children inherit your money, that's already taxed at 45%. It gets taxed again at 45%. So it's unbelievable, right? Like you make 100 million over your career, you give 50 or 45 million, right, away, you keep 55. And then the 55, when you would give that to your children, the government comes in and takes another 25 away and gives only 30 to your children. So I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. It's not useful for us. And it's definitely not useful for the government because at the end of the day, they're frivolously spending the money. They have no idea what to do with it. They're just spending it on people. I remember Dana was working for a government entity and they had people on staff that during a full work day, they would send 3 emails. That's it. That was their work day. And they're stressed and grumpy and gossiping and so on and so on. All of the normal workplace stuff that you were expected to do. But then they would send 3 emails. That was their productivity. We said, let's move. And we found 2 financial havens in Europe. One is Portugal and one is Romania. Romania is a little bit better than Portugal. You have 0% income tax, which is amazing. So if someone sends me money from the US, I pay 0 taxes on it. They can send me $1 million. I still keep all of it. So it's really good. I need to just pay things like health insurance and stuff like that, but that's a few hundreds or a few $1,000s per year. So very little compared to it's like at one point, it doesn't even go into factoring. It doesn't even blimp the balance sheet if you make enough money. It's very good for us. And then dividend tax was 5% until last year. This year they made it 8%, but it's still just 8%. So if I own a company here or if I own companies here and I pay myself dividends, it's 8%. And if I have real estate and I rent or do things like that, I get taxed at 10%. And that's the highest amount of tax you can get.
That's 10%. Crazy.
So
it sounds a bit like either Singapore, Dubai, where they are trying to
yes. And this is in Europe.
The barriers. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I haven't heard of that.
And we're 3 hours away from Budapest, right? And they're making the airport much bigger now, and they should be ready by Christmas here in the city where I live. And if they finish and succeed in their plans, next year we will already have international flights to all major cities in Europe and north of Africa and east of Asia and so on. Like you can get to Istanbul and so on and so forth. From where you can then go to all of Asia. And if you go from here directly to London or Paris or whatever, from there, you can go directly to the US or Latin America or wherever, right? You're basically one connecting flight away from anywhere you want to go, which again is amazing. And with the amount of money we save in taxes every year, right? We can build a clinic for ourselves and we can build a police force for ourselves and so on and just rent the services and have them for ourselves as well. Like, it's just such a better use of money at the end.
So Robert, why haven't I heard anything about Romania? So this is a brand and marketing podcast, and I was going to talk to you a bit about sales, but I think maybe how we brand and market Romania as an option, because I've obviously seen the golden visa from Portugal, and Portugal's got lovely weather. It's got great wine. English not so good, but it's quite a pleasant country, and they're trying to get additional tax dollars in by getting high net worth individuals. Other than having some familial background in Romania and obviously the tax advantages, what other advantages are there in Romania? And then let's talk about some of the negatives in terms of perhaps language and perhaps lack of access to networking and business opportunities.
So in terms of positives, we have all seasons here. So you can, if you move your fiscal residence to any place, you need to spend 180 days per year in that location. So let's say you like temperate weather. So you can stay here during spring and during autumn, for example, because not too hot, not too cold, right? And then your 6 months is here. And then 3 months in summer, you can go somewhere else where it's not so hot. And during winter, if you don't like the cold, you can again go somewhere else. If you love winter, you can be here in winter. If you love very cold temperatures, you can be here during summer, right? So we have all four, which is amazing because then it makes it so that anyone can spend 6 months here and then 6 months anywhere else they want to be. Other positives is that services are much better here. If you go into the UK and if you have an issue, health issue, you go to your GP and they recommend you to a doctor. And my wife did that at one point last year, right before taking the decision that we were gone. She had a real issue, health issue, and she got an appointment for 6 weeks after she asked for an appointment. And so this is from a family that was paying a lot in taxes every year. And part of it is obviously for healthcare. Not worth it. Why would I wait 6 weeks? In 6 weeks, if I really have something, I might die in that period. If you need an operation, months, right? It's crazy. And then the waiting times are just crazy. Basically, in Romania, you need healthcare now, you'll get healthcare now. And I'm not joking. It's literally I remember I went to a doctor and I went because, I'm going to tell you something funny. I went because I wanted to get a refund on a plane ticket that I couldn't go anymore because I thought I don't need a visa, but apparently I did. And so I wanted to get the refund on the plane ticket and it was last minute. And the only way you could get the refund was if you have an issue, a health issue or something. So I went to a doctor to fake a health issue, but I actually had a health issue with my lungs and I didn't know, right? So it was a funny thing. I had COVID and I'm a healthy young adult, right? So nothing happened to me. I just stayed in bed for a couple of days and then after that it was fine. But it damaged my lungs and I didn't know. You don't know this stuff, right? Because you can just live with damage for the rest of your life. And I had COVID and I was just talking to the doctor and I'm like, I just needed the paper to say I was here. That's the only reason I'm here. So just give me the paper and I'll send it to the plane guys, what's it called? The airline and so on. And they're like, okay, but let's put something on it. What did you have? Were you coughing? Were you whatever? I'm like, a few weeks ago, I had COVID. I said, okay, and what did you do? Nothing. I stayed in bed. What do you mean nothing? Did you take anything? I'm like, no, I didn't take anything. And she started scolding me like crazy, like she was my mom. What are you talking about? You didn't get an X-ray. You didn't do anything. No, impossible. She starts writing stuff, right? And she take this, go there, get an X-ray. In the UK, if you want an X-ray, again, you need to wait weeks to get one. It's so crazy. And again, you pay taxes, tens of thousands of pounds every year. I said, go get an X-ray right now. Go to another room in the hospital. They X-ray me immediately. They give me the results immediately. I take it to the doctor. She looks at the results on the same day, by the way. This is hours apart or minutes apart. She looks, she says, oh my God, you have damage here. You need these three medications. There you go. Go to the pharmacy down the hallway. I went, I got my medication and I started taking treatment and that's it. Literally in hours. And I paid what? $70 for all of it or $80. And the services are much better here. Cleanliness, very good. Criminality, very low. No one comes here. No one has a bomb. There's no Eiffel Tower here. There's nothing of that interest or whatever. No school shootings ever, never in our history, and so on. So things like that, very good place to raise children, very good place to just live and financially be very well off. Negatives. So in terms of negatives, the country isn't as open to investing as other countries, right? So if I go to the US, to someone in New York, in Chicago, in whatever, and they're like, how much will this cost? $250,000. It's like, oh, fine. I was expecting it to be $500,000. All good, right? Come to Romania, you say, how much will it cost? $250,000. We only have 50 grand, you know. I'm sorry, we can't work together, right? I've had things like this happen. For example, the most shocking thing I've seen. There's a company making 15 million, not 1,000, 15 million a year. They wanted us to do their marketing. We were a recommendation. And I quoted them, can't remember what, for the project they had. I think 20, 25 grand, something like that. For a company making 15 million, that's a very small amount to put into your marketing. Incredibly small amount. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is above our budget. I'm like, what do you mean it's above? What is your budget? So we're expecting it to be like maybe 10K or 15K or whatever. I'm like, that's less than 1% of how much you make in a year. How do you expect to grow your business on that level of investment? And it's just, I swear, it's almost useless conversation. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to penny and dime myself for what I know I'm worth, right? We're paid much more. And I even gave them a discount at the 20-something grand or whatever, because normally I would have charged more for whatever it is that you're offering. And so that you get here. People are very nice and very, very warm, to the extent, for example, there's this story, someone wrote about it. So a tourist came to a Romanian city, to an Airbnb, and they came in. They were greeted by a little old lady, and the lady was very kind. They're like, do you want food? So, yeah, I'm actually hungry. So they made them food. They did everything and so on. And they asked, like, where do I sleep? I said, you can sleep there. You're right, and so on and so forth. And so all of this happened and so on. And the same day or the next day, the Airbnb owner calls the guy. He's like, aren't you coming? And he's, what do you mean? I'm already here. It's like, here where? I'm here. You're not here. The guy went to someone else's house in Romania, and they knocked. It was like, hey, I'm this person. I came here. The woman didn't understand the Airbnb or anything like that, but she's okay, come in. And literally gave him food. He's like, where do I sleep? You can sleep there, right? It's like, and this really happened. Like they wrote about it in the news, right? And it's very warm in that sense, right? In the UK, people sometimes tell you, oh, we should go out sometime. We should meet sometime. We should whatever. They don't mean it. And which is weird. I think it's weird. They call it politeness. I call it lying. No, it's not true, right? If you don't really mean it, because I fall in love with those people because that's how I am here in Romania. Is if I tell you, come over, like I really want you to come over and I'll prepare. I'll make food or order something if you want or whatever. And so people say, oh, we should hang out sometime. Okay. What about next Thursday? Oh, I don't know. Let's talk about it. And then I follow up a few times and they don't say anything, right? Or they don't engage. And I realize they really don't want to meet. So as Romanians, for example, even I have the habit of saying, oh, Nicholas, I really like you. Come over sometime. And I kid you not, people do come over. Today, we will be expecting guests from Turkey, from the middle of Turkey. A guy I know, we hit it out nicely on conversations, business conversations, and so on. I'm like, you guys should come visit one time. And they're actually coming today. Yeah. They're coming over. And they called me this morning, Robert, can I come over today? I'm like, sure, come over, no problem. My wife is, oh, the house is a mess. Like, so what? Let's take an hour to clean it up and then we're ready for them. It's not a problem. And so we did that. And then someone else from Chicago is coming in November, I believe they said. Someone else from London was at our place in a month ago or 1.5 months ago, right? Just I invite you, come over, let's spend some time. Oh, someone from Morocco was here like 3 months ago, right? literally, because this is how you actually meet people, right?
Yeah.
You don't meet them on a 30-minute Zoom call. You meet them by spending hours together, by going out together, by stalking into the night, by waking up in the morning, having breakfast, whatever. That's how you meet someone, really, right? And the same way, other Romanians invite us. We were invited to trips with other people, and we accepted them and we went. We have another invitation now in October to go to Nice in France, because one of our friends owns real estate there. And they're like, come over, it's beautiful, and so on. And they mean it because they're Romanians. So like, sure, when should we come over? Like, October would be best. Perfect, we'll be there. You guys just tell us a few days in advance and we'll prepare. And that's it. That does happen in Romania a lot. You might not be comfortable with that, right? Some people aren't. It's a positive and a negative, right? We're very friendly like that.
I think South Africans, and so I'm from South Africa, but my family is German and English. And I studied in the UK as well. And now I live in Norway. And in the last couple of years, I was living in Malaysia. And the difference in cultures between the different countries is so remarkable. So South Africa, we're very much like Romanians. We'll say, come over. Or somebody will call and say, hi, we're having a barbecue, a braai, which is what we call a barbecue tonight. Do you want to come over? And you'll say yes. And a whole bunch of people will come out. In Norway, I think it's slightly different. You need to it needs to be in the calendar. It needs to be well done in advance. The different cultures are quite distinct in terms of that social group that they build and how open people are, especially with their houses. Perhaps houses in Romania are slightly larger as well.
They are.
In Norway and the UK, you can't really have millions of people stuck in a house.
So different. So like we have, in the UK, we had a large house by many people's, let's say, measurements as well, especially in the UK. However, here, our house is, I don't know how much it is in feet, but I think 3,000 feet or something like that you have inside. It's 250 square meters, and feet, I think, is 3,000 or whatever that is. We consider this a normal house. Like, it's not big, not small. It's just a normal house, right? In the UK, this much space. Wow.
Buckingham Palace, yeah.
Yeah, just this room is, I don't know how much space. And I've seen houses in the UK that fit in this room, right?
Yeah.
And you can't tell, but this is a long way that's 4 meters, right? From here to here. So that's a long way that way. And we have a lot of enjoyment in this open space, right? And so we bring people over and we have so much fun. For example, for Christmas, we invited people over. I think like 14 people showed up. And we were in the dining area and everyone fit perfectly. And we just enjoyed ourselves, right? And that's something we do. But moving on from there, other negatives might be that if you don't know the language, sometimes it's difficult, right? Because not everyone knows English. I've never really met people that can't just speak, but if you want to do things like renovate, for example, the guy renovating might not know English, right?
Yeah.
If you do business, almost everyone knows English or can communicate with you. If you need like rudimentary things, right? Or if you go to order something or whatever, some people might not know English, but most people do. But again, that's a negative. So it's not, I guess everyone in Norway speaks English by now. I don't know. But
well, especially in Oslo, you can get by without speaking in English. Obviously, we're trying to assimilate. So we are learning Norwegian. Our kids go to the Norwegian school. I try and speak as much as possible, and my wife's going for classes. I think it's very important to be able to learn the local language. And I suppose anyone who comes to Romania should make the effort to learn the language as well.
At least the basics. The basics you should know. Yeah, I agree.
So if I can ask, since we're on the Romanian track and we don't have too much time left with you, we may as well stay on Romania. What are some things that we should look forward to if we come to Romania? What is the best thing to drink? What are the best foods that we need to try out?
You should try out fruits that are in season. So right now, apples are in season. They taste delicious. It's so good. Autumn apples. Before this, we had things like watermelon. It was delicious. We had cherries. They were very good. I don't know how to call them. I think prunes.
Yeah.
They're like plums. Yeah, plums. You have plums. They're very tasty. Again, whatever is the seasonal fruit, you should eat that because it's delicious. If you eat meat, we have a thing called mich, which basically translates to smalls, like plural of small. It's small because you never have one. You have multiple small, right? So it's mich. And so you have whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, as many as you want. And you dip them in mustard, but it has to be a Romanian mustard from Tecuci. It's a place in Romania. That specific mustard with mich is just divine. Like you can eat that, like you can eat 20 of them if your liver can handle it. And then in terms of drinking, we do have some wineries. You can drink Romanian wine made in Romania if you like wine. So those tend to be very highly rated and enjoyed by people. You can get fruit wines that are, for example, from things similar to blueberries. They're like local fruits. They're very expensive for a liter, a gallon, whatever, but they're incredibly tasty. Very good. And whenever we drink that, Diana and I, we're like, it's a celebration. It's like, we're really enjoying it. It's like a dessert wine. It's sweet, but it's so good. We have something called Palinka, but it's very strong. It's 50% alcohol or something like that. It's like illegally alcoholic. It's very alcoholic. You can't, like, I remember Diana took it as a gift to some doctors in the UK that she knows. And she told them, please drink very little. Do not start with this. You can end with this. And obviously they didn't follow her advice. And so they just used it like the main drink of the night. They all got wasted because they just had a little bit.
Yeah.
But they were drinking that as the main drink. And you can't drink that. Like you get so wasted. I can't drink it. Like I drank it maybe a couple times. Every time my neck burns so much, I'm like, I can't do this again.
Yeah.
And so I just stuck to wine and beer. We have a few beers that people can enjoy. One of them is called the Bear in Romania, and it's Ursus. It's very good. We enjoy it a lot. And we have another one that people tended to like, which is called Timișoreana. That's a little bit more complicated. But we have a city called Timișoara, and it's relatively large. It has almost 500,000 people, something like that, like 400,000. And they have this like Timișoreana, right? And so it's one of them. And there are various beers that you can get. There's another one that Diana and I really enjoyed. Diana's my wife. When we went to Sibiu. Sibiu is very close to Brașov. People know Brașov because it's Dracula's castle. I live 6 hours away driving from the castle, right? So anytime we can just go for a city tour.
So you're safe from the vampires, yeah.
As you get closer, people have garlic and onions and whatever hanging because of the tradition and so on. And people buy the stuff as souvenirs. But we're farther away from that. That's not as prominent. But again, if you go 3 hours that way, you're gonna see it. It's everywhere. And close to that, there in Sibiu, there's another beer. Can't remember how it's called, but it's locally made in a small shop. And they want to stay small, and they want to preserve the beer in a way that makes it, they have a word for it, like a family business. I can't remember how it's called. But basically they want to keep it local, and then they still ship a lot. And when we drank that, we couldn't believe how tasty it was. Because we don't drink beer typically.
Okay.
But we went there as tourists, and they give you like tastes and like taste that. And we're tasting it, and we couldn't believe how tasty it was. And so you have that. In terms of food, if you go back to food, there are some companies that have made some incredible gems. They are internationally renowned because it's 100% fruit content, and one version is raw and one version is pasteurized, but like not too much. So you still have a lot of nutrients in both. And they actually won research awards, for how they created the system that makes the gem. And they got bought out by someone in Austria.
Okay.
They paid a ton of money to just own that, write the patent and everything. And so I think they already went to Austria to keep inventing stuff because they're chemists. And for some reason, they loved making gem. I don't know why. So they just made amazing gem. They figured out that it can be made to last for years, even though they make it in a very specific way. I don't know. My brother-in-law saw their factories and so on, because they're not relatives, but we know them for 20 years now and so on. And they started to go quite European. They're selling even in the UK, and I'm guessing everywhere in between. And then What else? There's a little company that marketed themselves super well. They do cookies. They're called Ambrosia as a company, and they make the most delicious cookies you've ever eaten, and they're healthy. And so when we go out, Dan and I buy 10 packets a time, and we go through one entire packet that, like, they have whatever, 30 cookies or 50 cookies. I don't know. We ate all of them in one go, in one sitting. And another company, for example, made a healthy cereal. Cereal isn't healthy. It's very unhealthy to eat cereal. And they made healthiest versions of cereal. So you can put your milk or your vegan milk, whatever, and you put that cereal. I think that cereal is like 25% protein.
Okay.
And various other things that make it very healthy. And if you love eating, just putting some milk and putting that, and then you just have your lunch, because that's the most attractive part of cereal, that it's in a box. You just put it, you eat automatically. So they invented that here. An amazing thing. We love all of this innovation. So there's a lot of that going out in terms of culinary things, you're right, drinking and eating. Romania is very forward thinking from that perspective. Like everyone is going now in that direction. You go to the market, you say half of the food is unhealthy, half of it is healthy, right? Which is super cool to see. You have a mix of both, right?
Yeah. You
still have the toxic chocolates and whatnot, and everything else is there, but it's still 2023. It's not like it's the future yet. So.
Yeah. So definitely a place to come and visit and potentially spend half the year in if you want a bit of variety. So we're looking for some variety, because obviously summer in Oslo is amazing, but the winter does get cold. And if you don't ski, then Oslo or Norway is not for you. Robert, we're going to have to talk about marketing next time. So I know you're pressed for time, but it's been good getting a little insight into Romania, something a country I've never really thought of coming to. But now that you've put the invite out there, you might have to make a time to try that very strong aperitif or alcohol. And so some of that mish, I think you said mitch, some of that mitch. And you're always welcome to come to Oslo. We are very hospitable, so you can come and knock on our door and spend time with us. So if next time we'll talk a little bit more about how you've helped companies reach hundreds of millions in sales, which I'm sure will be quite interesting. But for now, thank you so much for your time and a bit of insight into Romania.
Likewise. Thank you so much. This was unexpectedly entertaining. I look forward to our next call. And I'm sure we can help your listeners make a few extra million this year as well.
Let's hope so.
Come chat with Nicholas. He'll listen to you. Then he'll laugh, and then he'll cry with you. It's all in a safe space for you to speak your truth.